Hoops fans, welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Now it's Monday morning. You know what that means. We've got both our heavy hitters on deck. We're going to be joined by old mate Andrew Parkinson a little bit later. But first, we welcome old mate Benyam Kidane. PK, what's happening, my brother?
Hey, what's good? What's good, my man? How you living?
I'm living good, man. I'm living good. There's a certain joke I want to make about the New York Knicks, BK, but we're going to wait until Wednesday's show for me to make that joke.
Let's start the week on a positive note, huh?
We're going to start the week on a positive note. We're going to keep the good vibes going, man. Listen, let's get straight into it, BK, because we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about a team that, listen, I hate to say it, BK, you are much higher on them than I was at the beginning of the season. We spoke about them very briefly during our season preview show. That is the Minnesota Timberwolves, BK. Look, it's still early. We're obviously just 16 games. We're not even in, like a quarter of the way through the season yet. So there's still a lot of time for them to get things turned around again. But it hasn't been a great start, BK, to the season for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They decided to go big or go home. And so far, it looks like they're going home because they're just 8-8. They're just 8-8 on the season. Franchise gave up a ton of picks and some rotation guys to bring in Rudy Gobert. You were talking about how you liked that move and how it was going to shore up the defense, BK. It hasn't really shored up the defense, though, has it?
It hasn't shored it up. The defense has gotten worse. What's going on? I mean, the Wolves are a good defensive team when Gobert is on the floor. When he's off the floor, they're terrible. And when you look at the, kind of weighing things up, the defense to the offense, it really just isn't panning out for the Minnesota Timberwolves in the, era of so-called small ball. They zagged when everyone zigged. And I admit it, I liked the move, more so just the pushing the chips into the table. They got that taste of the postseason last year and decided to go for it, which I was a fan of. But you're right, the early returns have not been great for Gobert, but also, when you look around the impact on his teammates, Karl Anthony Towns is a bit more of a playmaker this season. We're seeing him pass the ball a lot more. His scoring is down. And I think the worst part is it's robbed them of maybe one of the best things about their season last year was Towns at the 5 as a small ball 5. If you can be that as a 7-footer, they were really good with him at the 5. I think they were 5.6 points per 100 possession better with Towns at the 5. They don't have that this season now with Gobert, and I'm not sure how this is going to play out for them. What's your take?
Yeah, look, I wasn't convinced, BK, as you know from the start of the season. Just that Twin Towers approach, especially in the modern NBA where it's small ball, positionless players, and all that sort of stuff. I just didn't see it working. And now, granted, Karl Anthony Towns is a guy that can sort of step outside and shoot. He's referred to himself as the greatest shooting big man of all time. But there seems to be a bit of a sort of a clog in that paint area now. And it kind of, for me anyway, and I think I'm about to read out a quote in a second from Anthony Edwards, it's kind of affected his game as well now because he hasn't been able to get to the rim, as he has in the past. Through his first 8 games, as an example here, Anthony Edwards didn't have a dunk, right, in his first 8 games. Anthony Edwards did not have a dunk for the first 8 games. And earlier, after a loss earlier this season, this is what Anthony Edwards had to say. He said, the smaller we go, the better it is for me. So you can clearly see that it's affected his game. And the fact that he's already out there publicly stating that it's affected his game, I don't think is good. Like, it's not a good look for the Minnesota Timberwolves because it's definitely something they should be figuring out in-house. But the fact that you got dudes out there already complaining about this 16 games into the season, yeah, not good.
Yeah, it's never a great sign when your big marquee move has compromised your 2 best players. Towns, his production's down. Anthony Edwards, as you said, hasn't been the same. And I really thought, pairing Rudy Gobert with a guy like D'Angelo Russell, who's a pretty competent pick and roll partner, and they're running a lot of pick and rolls. I think they're 6th in the league for pick and rolls per game, but it just hasn't quite panned out that way. So, as you said, very early still in the season. They're not the only team that's figuring each other out, that's feeling each other out. So it's not quite time to hit the panic button, but Yeah, sometimes watching these Timberwolves games, it's a bit of a slog. There's just no space in the key when you're looking for these guards to get in there and get busy. It's very congested down there.
Yeah, it is. And to your point about D'Angelo Russell, he's actually averaging his lowest scoring average, 14.2 points per game since his rookie season. And he too has had some words about that sort of congestion in the paint area as well. But the thing is, they're not a good three-point shooting team either. They're ranked 25th in the league at 33.5% from three-point range. So they're not really getting it done from outside either.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
No. But look, like you said, I still think it's not an experiment that's going to work, that whole big experiment. Like you said, BK, there's a lot of basketball still to be played. They do have time to turn it around. We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's move on, BK. We're going to talk a little bit about Giannis here, but not what you might think we're going to talk about Giannis. Now, following the Bucks' loss to the Sixers on Saturday, he didn't have a good free throw shooting performance during that game. I think he was just 4 of 14 or something along those lines. So following the game, Giannis went back out onto the court and decided to shoot some free throws, and he was going through a free throw shooting routine. Now, I think according to reports, he'd missed about the first 5 during this routine. Now, the 76ers staffers at the arena were beginning to sort of, take the court apart because they had to put the hockey court, I believe, was coming back up. So they're taking the court apart and trying to bring the rims down and all that sort of stuff. And we've got some footage here. So they were trying to take the rim down from where Giannis was shooting, and they were doing it during his actual shooting routine. And Giannis, he wasn't too happy a little bit about that. So he moved it out of the way. They went to move it back. He's gone back, and it looks like he's really shoved that thing there, BK. He came out afterwards and he said, look, I never tried to disrespect anyone in any way, shape, or form. I feel like today was just an unfortunate event that took place. I don't know if I should apologize because I don't feel like I did anything wrong, except the ladder just fell. That's so Greek, that response. I feel like it's my right for me to work on my skills after a horrible night from the free throw line. I think anybody in my position that had a night like me would go out and work on his free throws. If they didn't, they don't really care about their game. What did you make of all of this, BK? Was it a lot to do about nothing, or did Giannis have a point trying to push that thing out of the way?
This is a guy that underestimates his own strength. This is Happy Gilmore with the rake. I was just moving it. Come on, man.
That's why I said that's so Greek, that response.
And sure, he does have a right to go out there and shoot free throws, but you're also in Philadelphia, right? Like that's not the most welcoming of places to be wanting to do that. And Montrezl Harrell said just as much as the team's unofficial security guard trying to get Giannis up out of there.
Yeah. You saw afterwards. I think there was a separate clip that came out of Montrezl Harrell having words with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think it was at the half court line, and Trez had some pretty strong words for Thanasis. But yeah, it was. Look, I think both sides are a little bit to blame there because obviously you see a guy going through his routine. It's just like kind of let him finish up because I think this is what Giannis said, apparently, that he wanted to take 10 free throws. So if he's only got a few more to go, just let him take them and then just keep it moving. But look, Giannis is probably the most humble, respectful, superstar in the league right now. You never really see any controversy coming from his, camp and all that sort of stuff. So if this is like his bad mark on his record, look, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on this one here.
Yeah, are we really going to get this heated in November? I mean, Montrezl Harrell was ready, like, and to quote the great philosopher Drake, we got bench players talking like starters. I hate it. Just chill. What are we doing here? That's why you had to talk to Thanasis. I mean, you can't go over there talking crazy to Giannis like that.
That might be the greatest line we've ever said on this show, BK.
Yeah, get the air horn out there. We need that.
Yeah, we need that. Listen, the NBA is the greatest soap opera in the world. We've said it many times. Parky said it many times as well. So, listen, you love to see it. All right, we're still going to stay on this 76ers theme, BK, but we're going to move on to Joel Embiid, who's had an absolutely tremendous run, as he's been prone to do over the last couple of seasons. Now, the 76ers are just 8-8. They've looked very mid this season. I hate to say it, BK. They've looked very mid. They've been without James Harden, obviously, for a couple of weeks. Couple more weeks to go before he comes back. Tyrese Maxey now is injured, left that game early the other day, and he's going to be out for a while. As usual, it's up to Joel Embiid to carry this team, BK, and carry it. He's been doing now. Prior to Saturday's win, he was averaging 40 points and 11 rebounds in his previous 4 games. And over his last 3, he's putting up some incredible numbers. We're going to throw these numbers up on the screen here. Have a look at this, man. This is absolutely incredible. 133 points, 32 rebounds, 22 assists, 12 blocks in the last 3 games alone. There's some NBA players that haven't got those numbers in their whole career. BK.
Facts.
Yeah, are we kind of, disregarding Joel Embiid as an MVP this season, front runner?
Yes and no. I mean, there's other guys that have definitely, earned that spot, at the top of the whatever rankings are going around, whether it be a Tatum, a Doncic, and even Mr. 4 from 15, Giannis Antetokounmpo has made a strong case as well. But Joel, let's not forget, this guy was runner-up the last 2 seasons. Like, it almost feels like this is his year, right? Like, he probably had a solid argument to maybe win it last year. And look, after he missed, I think, 4 of the Sixers' first 10 games, they started the season okay. Now they've got no Harden. Now they've got no Maxey. We're going to see Joel Embiid doing this for a minute, for the next little stretch here. I think their next 5 games are against teams with losing records. So this 3-game stretch could turn into a 5, 8, 10-game stretch from Joel and really put him back right at the top of that MVP conversation. But the Sixers are going to need it because they are very short-handed right now.
I feel like we've said that about Joel like the last 3 seasons. We're like, this is his year, this is his year, this is his year. And honestly, I just felt like last year was his year. I did think he was the MVP last season for me. My next question was going to be, do we think this is sustainable? And when I say that, I don't mean whether he can actually keep this up, because he's proven over the last couple of seasons that he can. I mean that in the sense of, is it sustainable? Because they do rely on him so much. Even when Harden's in the team, Embiid is the focal point of that team. But is this sustainable for the 76ers in terms of, I don't think Harden is obviously the player that he used to be. That's clear to see for anybody. I think Tyrese Maxey is, I know you're a big fan of him, is the, next guy for the 76ers. But if those two aren't given those contributions, then, I don't think the 76ers are going to do much this season.
Yeah, you don't believe in Tobias Harris?
Nope.
Is it sustainable? No, probably not. Just because it's so outrageous. But like you said, he probably threw his best punch at the MVP last season, and I think Joel, can play at this level, but can he stay on the court? That's always been the issue with Joel, is he's going to play 58 regular season games, 65 regular season games, and we haven't really gotten that full burst from him, really ever in his career. So that to me is the big one, is if he does keep playing like this, how long is it before it does kind of take its toll? And in November, you don't want to be relying on Joel Embiid this much. Come the postseason in a 7-game series, go for it. But this early in the season, you kind of want to ease into things with a guy like that and injury history that he has. But man, it's fun to watch. Just watching a dominant big, like we haven't really seen, guys like that. I mean, when you look around the league, like there's dominant bigs everywhere now. Like it's fun watching big guys go to work.
Yeah, listen, I missed that era, man. Bring back the bigs, like make the center position great again. That 59 point, 12 rebound, 8 block performance that he had the other day. I can't remember the exact, stat line, but that was just like mind blowing what he did in that game. Look, I just watched the 76ers, and like I said, I think Doc Rivers is a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach. But he just runs too many isolation plays for Joel Embiid and James Harden when he's in the squad for me to think that 76ers are going to do anything this season. Yeah.
Is it a viable playoff recipe? I don't know. Probably not. But I mean, when you have guys like Embiid, and I still think Harden can be very productive in this new role within the Sixers offense, given how many, new shooters that they have, obviously having a dominant big like Embiid, and then having a guy like Maxey who can take the ball out of his hands. We're not going to see Harden flying up and down the floor. That's Maxey's job. So I like the pieces there, but again, I have to see it before I believe it. I need to see it out on the floor for a hot minute.
Yeah, that's fair enough, BK. That's fair enough. All right, my man, we're going to let you go. We're going to get back with you on Friday morning.
Always a pleasure, my man.
All right, time to bring on the betting expert himself, the magic man, Mr. Andrew Parkinson. Good morning, sir. Parky, we can't hear you, mate.
How's that? You
There
got
we
me
go.
now?
We've got you. We've got you.
Sorry, I was just talking to myself about how great it was. You're talking about Embiid and about how we mentioned to all the punters last week that he was still $13 for the MVP, even though it seemed like a bit of a two-horse race there with Luka and Giannis and Tatum in there. But yeah, I like what you guys were talking about Embiid. I think he could, he could firm up with that in that $13.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great shout, Parky. And if he continues playing that way, he's definitely going to continue rising up. Well, I think we'll get into that a little bit more on Wednesday when we discuss the MVP odds. We've got a few games we're going to take a look at today. Before we do, Parky, give us the rundown. How did we go from Friday?
Yeah, Friday you went 2-2 and I went 2-1, so it wasn't too bad. I keep saying my Kings, but we like the Kings to cover that big spread against the Nets, and they did the job for us, which was great. Yeah, they covered that easy. Also, we had the Clippers as an under team. That was 217. We went under in that, so we got a couple of good wins there. We lost on the Blazers against the Nets. We got that one wrong. Ben Simmons finally had a great game.
He did.
Well, when I say a great game, I mean
he flirted with a triple double, so it's that's pretty much his game.
Let's call it a pretty good game that he had. So yeah, let's hope we can come up with some more today. We've still got a few fairly good games on.
We do. All right, we're going to start off, Parky, with the Miami Heat and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavaliers going into this one, favorites at $1.22. The Miami Heat at $4.30. The line's at -5. The total's at 215. This one's live on NBA League Pass. Now, Parky, as of late last night, I haven't had a chance to check it this morning. Bam Adebayo, Gabe Vincent, and Dwayne Dedmon were listed as questionable. Duncan Robinson was listed as doubtful. And Tyler Hero is definitely out for the Miami Heat. For the Cavs, Kevin Love is listed as doubtful. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this line has gone all over the place, and so has my thoughts on what to bet on. Because initially I had this circled as the Heat were getting 9.5 points, but I think with those injuries, there's obviously something going on for that spread to change that much. But the one thing I do like in this game is because the last four Cavaliers home games have gone over the total, and that's a fairly low total there. I had 214, but I think it must have moved to 215. So I think that there's a few people thinking the same I am. So, yeah, no, I'm going to stay away from the spread in this one because it looks like there's a few guys doubtful and we won't be sure right up until game time, which is still another 2 hours away. So for me, the play on this game is the over.
I agree with you, Parky. I think the Cavaliers are going to cover the spread in this one here, and I'm going the over as well.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I think that's a good call because I've got written here that the Heat haven't covered the line in 4 of their last 5 road games. So I think, that's not a bad pick there.
All right, moving on to the next game, we're going to take a look at the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. The Warriors, $1.19 favorites. Houston Rockets, $4.90. The line's at 10.5. Totals at 231.5. This one's live on NBA League Pass. Now, not too many injuries to speak of in this one, just a couple for the Rockets. Kevin Porter Jr. is doubtful, and Alperen Sengun is questionable as well. The Golden State Warriors, unless they decide to rest somebody last minute, should be going into this one here full strength.
Yes, and it's very tempted to take the Warriors in this one, even though it is a large spread at 10.5. And the fact is that as road favourites, here we go. The Warriors haven't covered the line in the last 9 games as road favourites. So that's enough for me to sort of stay away from that spread. And once again, I'm looking at the total in this one. I think it's too high, 231.5. It was 232, 233 yesterday. So I think everyone's there's been a bit of money coming for that under. And 5 of the last 7 Golden State Warrior games have gone under. And their last game against your Knicks, I think on Saturday it was, that we all watched on TV. I think most of us did. was only about 212 points. So I think that 231.5 seems a little bit high. So I'm pretty keen on the under in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you, Parky. We've been agreeing a lot lately. That was the first thing that really, struck me when I saw that 231 was a little bit high. I'm definitely taking the under. The Warriors will win this game here. I'm going to stay away from the spread as well because that one's just, that's I don't know about this one. This could be one of those trap games where you just don't know. But
I was just going to say that the Warriors could come out and win this by 25, but they could also keep it close and they could win by sort of that 5 to 10 mark. So, I just think the under in this one's the play.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one there. All right, last one we're going to take a look at here. We've got the Denver Nuggets and the Dallas Mavericks. $1.22 for the Dallas Mavericks. They're going into this one here. Favorites, Denver Nuggets, $4.40. The line's at -5. Total's at 217.5. Now, if you're wondering why the Denver Nuggets are $4.40, it's probably because both Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic are not playing in this game. They're both out. Aaron Gordon likely to be back, according to head coach. And for the Mavericks, we've got Maxi Kleber. He's out. Reggie Bullock day-to-day. But yeah, Parky, no Jamal Murray, no Nikola Jokic. Pretty much explains why the Denver Nuggets are $4.40.
Yes, and the other reason they're that price as well is because these two teams only played 2 nights ago in the exact same venue. The score was 127-99, so that's a 28-point win for the Mavs. So you'd think they're going to cover this spread, but look, once again, Aaron Gordon, is he going to make a big difference to the score the other night? I don't think he's going to make that big a difference, even if he does play, and that we're not sure of. So once again, I'm scared off the spread again on this one. I'm going to stay with the totals. And here's a stat for you. If Jamal Murray's out, 7 of the last 8 Nuggets games have gone over the total. So that total at 217.5 is not that scary to me. So I'm liking the over in this game, even though I think the Mavs should win this one at home. And they probably will win by double digits. But no, once again, I'm going with the total in this one, over 217.5.
Parky, I'm going Mavericks, winning by double digits, and I'm taking the over as well.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think, I think they can duplicate exactly what they did, especially off a rest. And we all know Luka, especially at home, performs very well after a rest. Back-to-backs, he's not so effective. But no, I think they're going to take this time to really give it to the Nuggets.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, no Murray, no Jokic equals no Nuggets for me. So yeah, pretty easy one on that one there.
Yeah, and these teams are both 9-6 going into this game. So I think, that's the Mavs are going to be ready to go 10-6 rather than 9-7. And I think, it's an important game from in the Western Conference here. So I think the Mavs are going to take care of that business.
All right, we're going to have to see how we do on Wednesday morning. And obviously we'll get into some championship odds and some MVP player odds as well on Wednesday. All right, Parky, we're going to catch you Wednesday morning.
All right, look forward to it. See you then, Nick.
All right, guys, that's been another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. We'll catch you guys Wednesday morning.